Hey guys, I'm Layla. Welcome to raidlore Stories. Today's lore story is going to be for Vergumkaar. My Twitch chat affectionately calls them Chonky. I mean, he's like this big sausage frog looking thing, right? Now, what's interesting with him, I have not read his new lore story, but his old one links his lore story to Ursuga in the Barbarians. So let's check out this lore story, and I hope you enjoy. The Gallon War was at its bloody height when the creature that became known as Vergumkaar was conceived. The tide was turning against the forces of the Gallon Pact, and in their desperation, the lizardmen turned to all manner of experiments in an effort to win the war. The exigencies of the conflict resulted in numerous trials that would not have been permitted previously. The spawn handlers sought in particular to create creatures that were as intelligent as regular lizardmen, but possessed a physicality that rendered them good beasts of burden and powerful warriors. They should also, unless roused for battle, be docile and unhesitating when it comes to the following orders. Numerous failed attempts caused most of the Gallon Pact's leadership to disregard the efforts of the experimenters, and when the forces of the Tellurian League landed on the shores of Peltas, most efforts were abandoned. One spawn handler named Ichikarin, however, refused to give up on the possibility of breeding what they believed would be the perfect warrior. With a small number of faithful followers, he continued his efforts in an isolated lizardman temple in the heart of the Sorrow Lakes. The war swept past, but the forces of the Tellurian League never found Ikarin's work, which had become more of an obsession to him than an effort to help the pack to victory. After months of effort, he finally met with success. A creature was hatched from the spawning pools that bore all the desirable characteristics Ichikarin fought: pliability, strength, thoughtfulness. He named the hulking horned thing Vergumkaar, the future great, in his particular dialect. The great lizard possessed an intellect as strong as his tough-scaled body and a wisdom that even Ichikarin had not anticipated. Slow to anger, the creature nevertheless passed all the tests and challenges his creator set him, excelling in trials of strength and combatability, showing streaks of loyalty and protectiveness in particular. While all of Ichikarin's further attempts at creating more beings like Vergumkaar met with failure, he seemed content that his life's work had been ultimately successful. Rather than leading Vergumkaar to war, undoubtedly even his great strength would not have been remotely enough to turn the tide by that point in favor of the Pact. Ichikarin remained at his old temple, where he doted on Vergumkaar as though he were his own offspring. Years passed, and eventually Ichikarin died. Knowing nothing of the world beyond the Sorrow Lakes, Vergumkaar continued to occupy that temple that was his home until, one day, everything changed. Long after the Gallon War had ended, an avaricious and powerful bannerlord by the name of Baron Roderick came to the Sorrow Lakes seeking riches. He invaded Ichikarin's former temple, believing there was great wealth inside. Instead, what he found was Vergumkaar. The creature was docile at first, but when Roderick wanted its head and horns for a trophy, attacked it, something was triggered deep within Vergumkaar. The creature fought back, and a desperate battle ensued between them, a battle that only ended with the abrupt intervention of Roderick's cook, Ursuga. When Ursuga had still been a child, Roderick had slain her desert tribe family and enslaved her. Only now, at long last, was Ursuga taking revengeance, ending Roderick as he fought Vergumkaar by stabbing him with one of her own great drinking horns. Vergumkaar could sense there was more to Ursuga than met the eye. Indeed, the thick-set human woman had saved his life. Ursuga lowered her weapon and spoke to the creature. Though unable to reply verbally, it showed her Ichikarin's old experimental chambers and helped her understand that he was a unique being. Ursuga was impressed, and with a bow of its head and a scrape of its claws, Vergumkaar swore silently that he would follow Ursuga wherever she traveled. In that moment, the spawn of Ichikarin found a new purpose. The great lizard spawn soon proved his value. He dragged Ursuga out of churning ice rapids during a river crossing in the Kingdom of Frostheim, and drove out orc bandits during their journey through the Red Spike Mountains, after detecting their covert approach upon the camp while Ursuga slumbered by the fireside. He easily carries the treasures Ursuga seized during their adventures and, at times, even acts as a mount in battle for the powerful warrior. Many assume Vergumkaar is a simple beast of burden, but in this regard they are wholly mistaken. His wit is as keen as Ursuga's, perhaps more so, and the two used the bond they had forged down the years to deadly effect. Vergumkaar's sharp senses and resilience, as well as his cunning, effectively offsetting Ursuga's strength and at times overweening determination. They are equals, and together they have developed a reputation that might well live up to the meaning of Vergumkaar's name. Okay, so yeah, I find this is interesting. Those of you guys watching on YouTube, I am sharing this live on Twitch, and Twitch chat's like Ursuga is a cook. So, all right, like I said, event. In the beginning, they initially had Vergumkaar and Asuga basically fighting to almost the death, and then they ended up just forming a bond. It was like a mutual thing, right? So in this story, they still introduce Ursuga, but they introduce her a little bit differently and still have them as a pair. Now, with that being said, it would be interesting if in the game they had actually made these two a tandem if they were going to liken them in a lore story, which they didn't do. But guys, drop me some comments down below what you think for the story for Vergumkaar, and thanks so much for watching.